Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something that hits you at 2 a.m. like a betrayal from your own body, a searing jolt in your calf that feels like Poseidon himself just harpooned your leg muscle. You tried to flex, to scream, to even whisper for help, but all you can do is clutch your sheets and hope the pain passes before your dignity does. Sound familiar? Yeah? You're not alone. Leg cramps, especially in your 70s and Bindu, aren't just irritating. They're vicious, and they're common. You probably chalk them up to age, lack of movement, or maybe the ghost of that Zumba class you tried once in 2011. But the truth, it runs deeper than that. Your body is playing an orchestra of dietary signals, and somewhere, one of the instruments is horribly out of tune. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe here, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments, so I'd love to see where and when you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying there, finally about to drift off, when a spasm knots your calf like a garden hose someone twisted mid-flow. It's not subtle, it doesn't whisper, it screams. But here's the catch. This isn't just bad luck or aging muscles giving up the ghost. These cramps are symptoms of your body waving little red flags, begging you to look deeper. Back in ancient Greece, athletes would rub vinegar and oil into their legs before long runs, swearing it kept the spirits inside the muscles calm. Superstition? Maybe. But even then, people sensed that something more than physical strain was to blame for these spasms. Historians still argue whether those old rituals were rooted in actual medicinal knowledge or just glorified salad dressing. But guess what? They were onto something. You see, your muscles aren't powered just by strength, they run on signals: electrical, chemical, dietary. When one piece of that system falters, say, you're short on magnesium or potassium, your body reacts. Think of it like tripping over a power cord. Everything goes haywire for a moment, and as you get older, those cords fray more easily. Your kidneys filter less efficiently. Your diet might become more comfortable but less balanced. You eat what you enjoy, not necessarily what your body needs. And the price for that? It often comes to you in the dead of night with a cramp that feels like Zeus just lit you up. A curious tidbit: Roman soldiers were said to chew dried celery seeds before long marches. Why? They believed it kept their humors balanced and their legs from cramping. Modern science suggests celery's electrolyte content might have had something to do with it. The ancients didn't know why, but they knew something worked. You, too, don't have to become a nutritionist. You just have to know what works and what doesn't. Which brings us to the sad little truth: that banana you ate, the one everyone says will totally fix it, probably didn't do much. Bananas are fine, but relying on one fruit to solve a complex muscular malfunction is like trying to fix your roof with duct tape in a hurricane. Now, here's the spicy part. Your body at 70 isn't the same as your body at 40. Digestive absorption slows, hormonal balance shifts, your hydration threshold changes. All these factors mess with the tightrope walk of electrolytes and nutrients your muscles need to contract and release smoothly. You miss a step on the tightrope and boom, the cramp strikes. Still with me? Good. Because we're about to step into some myth-busting territory. Over the next sections, you'll discover that most of what you've been told about preventing leg cramps is either oversimplified, outdated, or just plain wrong. You'll learn how minerals matter, how your hydration habits might be fooling you, and why even a simple timing mistake in your meals could leave you writhing at night. You'll meet ancient warriors who salted their wounds and monks who mastered dietary calm, all the while learning how to stop these cramps before they start. It's not just about avoiding pain, it's about reclaiming comfort. Imagine sliding into bed, closing your eyes, and actually staying asleep all night. No jolts, no shooting pain, no limping to the kitchen at 3 a.m. whispering curses to the heavens. That's the goal. And tonight, we start the journey toward it. So, as you nestle deeper into your pillow, remember this: your calf cramps aren't just bad luck. They're stories written in the language of nutrition, hydration, and biology. All we have to do is learn to read the signs and maybe, just maybe, keep those legs still and silent all night long. Now let's talk about the quiet saboteur, magnesium. Not flashy, not popular like vitamin C or trendy like turmeric lattes, but when it goes missing, your muscles throw a tantrum. A big, painful, cramp-filled tantrum. And the older you get, the sneakier magnesium becomes. Picture this: your body is like a dimming circuit board, and magnesium is the overlooked wire holding the whole thing together. When it's frayed, your muscles short circuit. At 25, you'd never notice. At 70, your legs notice every single time. You might remember hearing that magnesium is for bones or for sleep. But here's the real headline: magnesium is a gatekeeper for muscle relaxation. It literally helps your muscles let go. Without it, they clutch tight, like a fist refusing to unclench. So if you're waking up with your calves curled tighter than a pretzel, magnesium deficiency might be why. Now, before you go online and order a gallon of supplements, pause, because not all magnesium is created equal, and more importantly, not all of it makes it to your muscles. Some versions just glide through your system, like that one nephew who eats everything at Thanksgiving but never helps clean up. Here's a quick breakdown. Magnesium oxide is cheap, popular, and barely absorbed. Magnesium citrate, better. Magnesium glycinate, even better, especially gentle on digestion, which is a major bonus if you're dealing with any, let's say, senior gastrointestinal turbulence. There's also magnesium malate, good for muscle energy. But if your doctor ever hands you magnesium sulfate, they're probably prepping you for a hospital visit. That one's a whole different story. Now let's rewind history a bit. Did you know that Cleopatra's legendary milk baths may have included Epsom salts? Historians still argue whether she did it for beauty, muscle recovery, or simply to flex on the Roman Empire with her spa game. But modern science has shown that Epsom salts are rich in magnesium sulfate, can indeed soothe sore muscles via skin absorption. Still, whether that absorption is significant is debated. Some studies say yes, others shrug and say, not much. So yes, your grandmother might have been onto something when she soaked her legs in warm salt water. And now, so are you. But why do magnesium levels tank as we age? A few culprits line up: decreased intake, lower gut absorption, and a fun twist of common medications. Proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, certain diuretics for blood pressure, even some antibiotics, so they all wage war on your magnesium stores. And they don't come with warning labels that say, by the way, this might make your legs seize up like a rusty garden hose. Let's not forget that magnesium hangs out with some pretty important friends: calcium, potassium, and sodium, all BFFs. They need each other to balance cell activity and muscle signaling. If magnesium's low, even if the others are okay, you still get cramps. It's like pulling one violinist out of a string quartet. The music just doesn't flow. Now here's a weird tidbit. Ancient Japanese texts mention mountain tea made with magnesium-rich roots for calming body tension. Some Buddhist monks reportedly drank it before long meditation sessions to prevent leg stiffness. Whether that's truth or tradition, the concept holds. Magnesium calms the body and, it seems, the soul. So what can you actually do? First, food is your friend. Leafy greens like spinach and Swiss chard. Nuts are almonds, cashews, Brazil nuts, beans, avocados, whole grains, even dark chocolate. You're welcome. These foods sneak magnesium into your system naturally, and that's always better than pills when possible. Aim for small amounts regularly, not giant doses sporadically. Second, be smart with supplements if you use them. Always go for bioavailable forms, and never megadose unless your doctor says it's safe. Too much magnesium too quickly, hello diarrhea, and we don't need that adventure on top of leg cramps. Third, timing matters. Take magnesium at night, especially if you're using it for cramp prevention. It aligns with your body's natural rhythm and can even help with sleep. And last but not least, movement. Gentle exercise helps your body use magnesium more efficiently. A slow evening walk, light yoga, even some ankle rolls while brushing your teeth. It all signals your muscles, hey, we're still active here, don't turn into stone tonight. So the next time your leg locks up like it's reenacting a Civil War battlefield, think about magnesium. Not glamorous, not hypeda, but absolutely essential. It's the unsung mineral hero, keeping your legs loose, calm, and quietly grateful. Because here's the reality check. You can't outwalk a deficiency, and you certainly can't sleep through a spasm. But you can eat, absorb, and manage your way toward peace. You're probably tired of hearing eat a banana like it's the holy grail of cramp prevention. Let's clear that up right now. Potassium is important. But bananas? They're just the prom queen of the potassium world, are popular, photogenic, and a little overrated. In reality, you've got a whole cast of unsung heroes quietly brimming with potassium and doing just as much, if not more, for your cramp-prone legs. And guess what? They don't even require peeling. First, a quick refresher. Potassium is an essential electrolyte that helps regulate fluid balance, nerve signals, and muscle contractions. When your potassium levels are low, your muscles become excitably trigger happy, and that's when spasms strike. It's like giving your calf a jittery cup of espresso and expecting it to chill. Potassium works hand in hand with sodium. Together, they create electrical impulses that help your muscles contract and relax in rhythm. You mess with the ratio alike, too much sodium or too little potassium, and it's game over. Cue the cramp. Now here's the kicker. As you age, your body becomes less efficient at absorbing potassium. Plus, diuretics are those common little pills your doctor gives you for blood pressure that flush potassium right out of your system. So even if you're eating enough, you might still be running on empty. And here's something curious: historians still argue whether the Incas knew how potassium-rich their diet was. Their food staples are like sweet potatoes, quinoa, and avocados were loaded with it. They didn't know the science, but they knew the result: strong legs that carried them up mountains with ease. Coincidence? Maybe, but the record stands. So let's break the banana curse and introduce your legs to some fresh support. 1. Sweet potatoes, with more potassium per serving than bananas. These are also packed with fiber and vitamin A. Bonus, they're delicious roasted, mashed, or stealthily hidden in pancakes. 2. Avocados. Yes, they're trendy. Yes, they're expensive. But they're also potassium-packed, heart-healthy, and versatile. Plus, mashed avocado on toast makes you feel like a millennial without the back pain. 3. White beans, the secret weapon. A single cup delivers nearly twice the potassium of a banana. Add them to soups, stews, or salads and watch your leg tension slowly melt away. 4. Spinach Swiss chard. These leafy greens are not only rich in magnesium, as we discussed earlier, but also heavy hitters in potassium. Steam them, toss them in a smoothie, or saute copyright with garlic for an easy win. 5. Watermelon, refreshing and hydrating. This summertime fruit sneaks in a surprising amount of potassium. Plus, the high water content helps with hydration, a double win. A quirky tidbit: in some Caribbean cultures, they swear by boiled green plantains with garlic as a natural muscle relaxer. Whether it's tradition or science is still up for debate, but it certainly tastes better than a bottle of electrolyte powder. But hold on now, because more potassium isn't always better. Your kidneys play gatekeeper, and if they're not functioning well, which can happen subtly with age, too much potassium can become dangerous. That's why older adults should check in with their doctor before going full potassium powerhouse. Still, moderate, food-based potassium intake, that's gold. Unlike supplements, Your body self-regulates how much it absorbs from food. So if you're adding white beans to dinner and slicing avocado on toast, your muscles will thank you in the night. Also, spread it out. Your body prefers a steady stream of potassium rather than a giant bolus. It's not an emergency energy drink, it's a long-haul electrolyte. Think of it like charging a phone slowly for all-day battery, not slamming a charger in at 2%. And here's one last tip that nobody tells you. Salt substitutes often contain potassium chloride instead of sodium chloride. If you're cutting back on salt, these swaps may help you sneak in extra potassium. Just check with your doc, especially if you have any kidney issues. So tonight, as you lie in bed, your calf's coiled but calm. Think of all the behind-the-scenes support they're getting. Not from a banana, but from a beautifully balanced diet, soft beans, hearty greens, maybe even that hipster avocado you once rolled your eyes at. Because when it comes to preventing cramps, potassium isn't about gimmicks. It's about consistency, subtlety, and giving your muscles the quiet nourishment they need to stop screaming in the dark. Let's shift the spotlight to a mineral that's been hanging around since the dawn of skeletons: calcium. Yep, good old calcium, the one that built your bones and starred in every milk commercial from 1973 onward. But here's the twist: calcium isn't just about bones. It's about movement, specifically muscle contraction. Think of your muscles like little engines. Calcium is the spark plug. When you move, your brain sends a signal that releases calcium ions into your muscle cells, triggering them to contract. Then, once the movement's over, the calcium gets vacuumed back out so the muscle can relax. Beautiful system, a broken bar until it starts misfiring. And when calcium's missing, you get cramps, sharp ones. Cramps that wake you up in the middle of the night thinking you just stepped on a Lego in your sleep. But here's the kicker: you might think you're getting enough calcium. You might even be taking a supplement or drinking a glass of milk with dinner. Beauty surprise. That calcium might not be going where it needs to. Aging bodies absorb less calcium from food. Your stomach acid, which helps liberate calcium from your meals, naturally declines with age. That calcium pill, it may just be passing through, waving goodbye on the way out. And there's another wrinkle: your body is a tight-knit mineral community. Magnesium and vitamin D must be present in the right amounts for calcium to be properly absorbed and utilized. If magnesium's low, remember last section? Calcium can't do its job. It's like sending the right player to the wrong game. Let's get historical for a moment. In ancient China, bones were ground into powders and consumed in teas, and not just for their life force, but to reduce muscle twitching and cramps. Scholars debate whether this was symbolic alchemy or an early grasp of mineral deficiency. Still, they weren't far off. Calcium was in those bones, after all. Now, back to the present. How do you actually improve your calcium status in your 70s? First, start with food. The body absorbs calcium from whole foods more efficiently than supplements. Here are a few star players. 1. Sardines, with bones. They're tiny, oily, and packed with calcium. Eat them on toast with a splash of lemon and you've got a muscle-supporting snack fit for a Mediterranean fisherman. 2. Greek yogurt. Fermented dairy makes calcium more bioavailable. Plus, the probiotics give your gut a bonus nudge. Helpful since calcium and digestion are more intertwined than you'd expect. 3. Collard greens. Kale. These leafy greens are not only high in calcium but low in oxalates, meaning your body can actually absorb the calcium instead of sending it down the drain. 4. Tofu. Set with calcium, this sneaky little block can carry up to 800 milligrams of calcium per serving. Just check the label to make sure calcium sulfate is listed. But here's where it gets weird: calcium's best friend is also its worst enemy. Enter phosphorus. Modern diets, especially those high in processed meats, colas, and additives, overload the body with phosphorus, which competes with calcium for absorption. Too much phosphorus literally blocks calcium from doing its job. So if your dinner consists of deli ham and soda, you're sabotaging your muscles before dessert. Another overlooked villain, caffeine. Too much can lead to calcium loss in the urine. That innocent second cup of coffee at 4 p.m. might be costing you your 3 a.m. leg comfort. Balance it out with more calcium-rich food or switch to herbal tea in the evenings. And no, chamomile doesn't count if you douse it in honey and cream. And let's not forget about vitamin D, but hold that thought. We'll get into it next section. Just know that without it, calcium's like a tourist without a map, lost, frustrated, and not doing much for your calves. Some fringe thinkers believe full moon cycles affect mineral absorption. While science hasn't confirmed this yet, it's a fun thought. Your body soaking up calcium like moonlight. Whether or not the moon's in charge, the truth is your body is influenced by rhythm, a diet, sleep, sun, stress. All of it matters. So tonight, as you rest your legs and hope they don't revolt, remember this: calcium isn't a solo artist. It's part of a band. And when one member's off key, like calcium underabsorbed or magnesium missing, the whole show falls apart. But with a few thoughtful tweaks, or a sardine here, a handful of greens there, you slowly, gently restore balance. And the muscle pain that once jolted you out of sleep, it starts to fade like a forgotten dream. Let's talk water. Not the poetic kind that babbles in brooks or glistens in moonlight, but the simple, practical hydration your muscles are begging for. Because here's the truth no one's telling you: dehydration is sneaky after 70. And it's probably cramping your style literally. See, when you were younger, your body was basically a well-oiled hydration detector. Thirst hit, you drank, problem solved. But now, that signal fades. Your internal low battery alert gets fuzzier with age, and you often don't even realize you're thirsty until you're halfway into a cramp at 2 a.m., clutching your leg like a Shakespearean death scene. Hydration isn't just about quenching thirst too, it's about keeping your muscles functioning like civilized members of your anatomy. Muscles are 75% water. Without enough, their contractions become unpredictable, twitchy, and painful, like an old car with no oil. And don't assume just because you drink something during the day that you're hydrated. Coffee, tea, and wine might technically be fluids, but they're not your hydration heroes. In fact, some of them are diuretics, pulling water out of your system. Yes, that lovely glass of red with dinner might be inviting the calf cramp fairy into your bedroom. Fun fact: in ancient Egypt, laborers working on the pyramids were given a beer-based hydration brew. It contained not only water but minerals like sodium and potassium from fermented grains. Historians still argue whether this kept them alive or just kept them cheerful. But one thing's for sure, they were thinking about electrolytes before it was cool. Now, let's get practical. You need water, but you also need electrolytes to hold it in the right places. If you drink only plain water all day, especially in large amounts at once, you can dilute your body's mineral level, so ironically triggering cramps rather than preventing them. Here's your hydration cheat sheet. Small, frequent sips. Say, instead of guzzling a giant glass every few hours, take little sips throughout the day. This keeps hydration steady and easier for aging kidneys to handle. Infuse your water, add a slice of cucumber, lemon, or even a pinch of sea salt. That small addition of sodium helps your body retain fluids and balance electrolytes. Coconut water, nature's electrolyte drink, minus the marketing fluff. It's loaded with potassium and a little bit of magnesium. Just be mindful of added sugars. Bone broth, a warm, savory option, especially good before bed. Rich in sodium and other minerals, it doubles as hydration and muscle fuel. Check. Let's not be shy. Your urine color is the best hydration gauge around. Pale yellow, good. Dark gold, drink. Neon, maybe skip that multivitamin today. Now, some folks go overboard with sports drinks, but here's the deal: most commercial electrolyte drinks are made for athletes losing liters of sweat per hour. You're just trying to survive the grocery store without pulling a hamstring. So unless you're power walking marathons, stick to gentler options or low-sugar electrolyte tablets. There's also the odd but true story of 18th century sailors chewing salted citrus peels to avoid cramps during long voyages. It gave them fluid and salt, and likely a decent case of scurvy breath. Still, there was logic behind the madness. And let's bust one last myth. Drinking lots of water before bed will prevent cramps. Not really. It might just wake you up for a 3 a.m. bathroom trip right before your leg decides to cramp as punishment for standing up too fast. Instead, hydrate during the day. Aim to taper off by early evening. And if you tend to wake up dry-mouthed or muscle-locked, try a small glass of electrolyte water about an hour before bed, just enough to help, not to drown you. Because here's the gentle truth, your muscles are made of water and minerals. When they don't have enough of either, they scream. When they have both, they sigh. So tonight, picture your legs resting like caramel keys of fluid, quiet, at peace. That starts not with a banana, but with a glass of well-balanced water hours before you slip under the covers. You've probably heard salt is the enemy. Bad for blood pressure, bad for your heart, and according to half the internet responsible for every puff of bloat you've ever had. But here's where it gets deliciously ironic. Salt might be your surprise ally in the war against leg cramps. Let's be clear, we're not talking about dumping table salt on everything like it's a dare. We're talking about the mineral sodium, a critical electrolyte that, when balanced correctly, helps your muscles fire, rest, and behave. Without enough sodium, your cells can't properly transmit the electrical signals needed for muscle function. Too little sodium, and your muscles throw tantrums or spasms, cramps, and that annoying feeling like something is tightening under your skin for no reason. Now, the tricky part is that while too much sodium can raise your blood pressure, too little, especially in older adults, can lead to hyponatremia. It's more common than you think, especially if you're on diuretics, eating low-salt everything, or hydrating excessively without electrolytes. Yes, you can be overhydrated and undersalted. It's a balancing act, one you used to pull off effortlessly. But now, at 70 plus, you've got to pay attention, especially if you're sweating more, hot weather, exercise, taking blood pressure meds, or favoring bland, low-sodium foods out of habit or medical advice. Quick flashback, in the 3rd century BCE, Roman soldiers were paid partially in salta salarium, from which we get the word salary. Salt was that valuable, not just for food, but for survival, endurance, and you guessed it, our muscle function. Historians still argue whether soldiers carried small salt stones into battle for hydration or simply to barter with. Either way, they valued sodium more than gold. So how do you become sodium smart without overdoing it? 1. Choose mineral-rich salts. Instead of processed table salt, which is stripped and bleached, opt for sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. They contain trace minerals like magnesium and calcium that help balance sodium's effect in the body. 2. Salt your food to taste to not fear. If you're eating mostly whole, home-cooked meals, adding a pinch of salt won't hurt. Processed foods are where sodium really sneaks in by the fistful. 3. Reconsider the low-sodium everything mindset. If your doctor told you to cut salt, follow that. But if you've been avoiding it out of general fear, you might be shortchanging your muscles. 4. Post-sweat snack. After walking or gardening in warm weather, have a small salty snack and a few olives, a slice of cheese, or even miso soup. It replaces lost sodium gently, without flooding your system. 5. Electrolyte tabs or salty broth at bedtime. If your cramps show up like clockwork at 2 a.m., consider sipping half a cup of warm bone broth or an electrolyte tablet in water an hour before sleep. Not glamorous but surprisingly effective. Now here's a weird but true tidbit. 19th century miners in Cornwall used to carry salt crystals in their shirt pockets. They'd lick them before going into deep mine shafts. where the heat and humidity would quickly drain their sodium levels. Some even swore the salt kept the devils from dancing in their legs. Sounds like a cramp to me. Salt also plays nicely with potassium. As we covered earlier, they need to stay in harmony. Too much of one and not enough of the other, the scale tips, and suddenly your calf is doing the electric slide at 3 a.m. And here's where the gentle sarcasm comes in. If you're choking down low-sodium, low-fat, gluten-free, joyless air puffed rice chips to be healthy, maybe it's time to give your legs what they actually need. A little real salt, a little balance, a little less dogma. Because at the end of the day, or more accurately, the middle of the night, your muscles aren't judging you for using pink salt. They're just asking, can we please not seize up again? So tonight, don't fear the salt. Respect it. Use it wisely, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get through the night without waking up mid-cramp, wondering why your leg feels like it's auditioning for a horror movie. And now, let's step into the sun. Or rather, the lack of it. Because while your skin might be hiding from UV rays under a wide brim hat and SPF 50 these days, your muscles, they're quietly begging for just a little vitamin D. You see, vitamin D isn't really a vitamin. It's more like a hormone in disguise, one that plays a vital backstage role in your body's calcium absorption, bone health, immune system, and a broken bar muscle function. Without enough vitamin D, your body has trouble absorbing calcium. Remember that whole spark plug muscle contraction business? So even if you're eating sardines, yogurt, and sipping on your bone broth like a mineral-rich champion, none of it works without this sunshine molecule unlocking the gates. But here's the rub. After age 70, your skin produces only about 25% of the vitamin D it did when you were younger. Even if you bask in the sun like a lizard on a hot rock, it's likely not enough. And if you live in cloudy climates, wear long sleeves, or just prefer shade and Netflix, well, the sun's not reaching you anyway. Cue the cramps. Muscles low on vitamin D often spasm, twitch, or fatigue more quickly. That gnarly calf cramp at night? It could be your body waving a tiny vitamin D deficiency flag, hoping you notice. Not that your doctor will always connect the dots, so many still look at bone density but ignore the muscular symptoms. Let's time travel for a second. In 17th century Europe, a condition called rickets spread rapidly among city-dwelling children. Their bones softened, legs bowed, and their muscles cramped constantly. Historians still argue whether coal smog or poor diet was the bigger villain, but what we know now is that vitamin D deficiency thanks to a lack of sunlight was the core issue. The treatment? Cod liver oil, rich in both vitamin D and A. And yes, it tasted as awful as it sounds. Want to skip the fishy aftertaste but still boost your levels? Here's what works. 1. Get tested. Ask your doctor for a 25 OD blood test. You want your levels between 30 and 50 nanograms per milliliter. Many people, especially older adults, hover in the low 20s without realizing it. 2. Choose the right D. Vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, is the form your body makes from sunlight and absorbs best. D2 is cheaper, but less effective long term. Most experts now recommend 1,000 2000 per day, but your doc might suggest more if you're deficient. 3. Combine it with K2. Vitamin K2 helps shuttle calcium into your bones and out of soft tissue. Without it, you might be increasing calcium absorption but not directing it properly. Think of it like giving your Uber driver no destination. No bueno. 4. Eat fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, and sardines offer a double punch, D3 and omega-3s, which help with inflammation and overall muscle comfort. 5. Mushrooms, UV exposed. Here's a fun plant-based twist. Some mushrooms, when exposed to ultraviolet light, generate D2. It's not as potent as D3, but it helps. And what about the fringe stuff? There's an old belief in certain Himalayan villages that placing a bowl of water in the sun and drinking it at twill